Okay, folks, I want to welcome you to another post-game conversation where you get to hear directly from Tribe football alums. For this episode, we have Mr. Ray Bisczat. How you doing, Ray?
Good, Dante. How you doing today?
I'm doing well. I've enjoyed talking to you and catching up. I know we've known each other for a little while. Mostly enjoy the grill talk, the barbecue and the grill talk. So that's been great. And it's also just good to get you on, given how much you do for the tribe. So let's get right into it.
Okay.
All right, let's do it. So tell everybody what position you played, what year you graduated, and what was your major?
I graduated in 1984, so 83 is my senior season. I came in with Coach Laycock. I was part of his first freshman class when he was his first year head coach at William and Mary. Majored in economics. Got a BA. I always tell folks, I'm not that smart like you guys. S in your degree. I got an A in mine. And then, I played left tackle. So, and I think I had long arms and good feet. I could pass block, and we threw the ball a lot. They said, just protect Chris or David or Stan. Don't let them get hurt. Hold if you have to. So that's what I did.
That sounds simple enough. I don't know if the execution is that simple, but that sounds simple enough. Okay, good deal. So when we talked, when we talked about your journey to William and Mary, you're a pretty good student, and from PA. Tell us about your journey to William and Mary, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I think in general, my recruitment was probably pretty typical. Much more sophisticated today than it was back then. Coaches came and visited you. And your head coach would kind of line up coaches they thought were appropriate schools, or good fit with the players. And I was a pretty good student. And I graduated 7th in my class of 1,000. We had a large high school, and I wanted to go to an academic school. So I'd visited Dartmouth, the Naval Academy. I went to visit Virginia Tech, and it's like back in the day, they probably didn't have the same academic level, so that was kind of an outlier. And I visited William and Mary, and so I was pretty much sold on William and Mary when I finished up the visit. I did have an appointment to the Naval Academy. I did have a blast on that visit as well. Dad would have me go to the Naval Academy, and done the prudent thing, the kind of the bird in the hand. But instead I decided to come to William and Mary, and it seemed to work out okay. We had a lot of other guys, from the East Coast, New Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania, kind of a steady pipeline. And like Mario Schaefer and Bernie Morazzo, and Steve Zulli played defense, and you can just start going down the list of guys that are from that area. And we still have a pretty strong pipeline. Matt Johns, our quarterback coach here at William and Mary now, is from Central Buck East, one of the rival schools we play. Matt McKenna, our starting center, is from Central Bucks West. And so, we continue to have kind of a good pipeline of representation of the Northeast here at William and Mary. And hopefully that continues. It's always good to see guys from our area,
It is.
On the tribe.
Yeah, me being a Maryland native, I like to continue to see the Maryland guys, but yes, the Pennsylvania guys is good as well. So tell us about your time at William and Mary, right?
We came in with Coach Laycock, his first freshman class, and a lot of rebuilding goes on. We were down in numbers, and it was kind of a struggle. We were 2-9 that first year. I mean, we did beat Rutgers, who had tied Alabama the week previously. And that was one of our 2 wins. So for a brief moment, we could almost beat Alabama.
There you go.
You always kind of remember, the guys you play with, the fun stuff. Practice was never fun. I hated practice, but one of the things we did, I found fun was that we did live pass blocking drills, and so y'all know Wayne McMasters. Wayne played defensive line. I played left tackle, and Tuesdays and Wednesdays in that era, there was always the full pad days. And that's when we did a lot more hitting than they do today. And so, Wayne and I would always square off, in live pass, rush drill. And we would just kind of beat the crap out of one another. Half the time there'd be a fight. And then, we go back and, do it again. And then head back to the fraternity house and have a beer, and then everything was good. So Wayne kind of coined our battle, if you will. It's like Ralph and Sam, the old Looney Tunes commercial, where the sheepdog and the coyote, and if you recall from the cartoon, they check in the morning. Morning, Ralph, check. Morning, Sam, clocking in. They beat the crap out of one another at the end of the day. Good night, Ralph. Good night, Sam. And so that was Wayne and I for, that's what we did. And we still joke about that today. I see him around town or see him in the game. Hey, Ralph. Hey, Sam. I think you remember, so.
Yeah. I love it.
And so, like I said, we talked about, we were our coach first class, and we were kind of building, from there. And so a game I really remember a lot that we didn't win, but we were the homecoming opponent for North Carolina, so, you know what their thought process is when you're the homecoming opponent, right? So you don't want to be in that position, if you will. And recently I've wondered, like, our homecoming, why aren't we getting an opponent? We're getting like Delaware.
Yeah, literally. Yeah, literally. Yeah.
Give me an opponent. But so we were the opponent. Okay. And so we're down there. We take the opening kickoff, 80 yards, touchdown. And so, this is when, college football was on ABC and we weren't televised. We weren't a big enough national draw, but the fellows back at the return house were saying, well, we were watching, and this is when Jim Lampley did the scores. He said, early score from Chapel Hill, William Mary 7, North Carolina 0. And he does a double take, and we'll check that one for you. But it was. So we ended up losing, 51-20. But, personally, I think for our offense, we scored 20 points. 356 yards on the defense at the time. They were ranked number 1 in the country, and so it was kind of like we can play, we can hang with these guys. And at one point in the third quarter, we were down by 11. We kind of needed to stop. We didn't get it. I mean, they're much deeper. Ethan Horton was on that team. William Fuller, who went on to play, for the Eagles, was on that team, right? So you got a tight end went to the Raiders, so. A lot of depth, a lot of talent, but we hung in there, and it felt like, okay, we can play with these guys. A little side note, Coach Stewart was our offensive line coach, and, the next year, Coach Stewart was the offensive line coach at North Carolina.
I love that. Yeah.
So I guess they figured if he could do that at William & Mary, we ought to get him here in North Carolina,
That's right. Yeah.
And good for Coach, and so that was a nice kind of, game memory. And then, the other thing that really kind of stands out, I think, is the Richmond game, our senior year in '83.
Yeah.
And as I was telling you, I don't remember a whole lot of details about the game. I do remember, like, a pregame, your parents come down, it's senior day, you walk out, on the field. But, we were 5-5 coming in. And, we had 3 losing seasons leading up to that, and a lot of the guys on the team came from winning programs. They were used to winning, and we hadn't really gotten over that hump yet. So we were playing for a winning season. Coach Laycock's first winning season would be, the seniors' only winning season at William & Mary in our career, and so it was important that we win the game, and we did. We won. I think it was like 20-something to 15. We won. And so, you felt like, all right, all that hard work, Coach, we got, Jimmye say, we got to get better, man. We got to work harder. We got, and we kind of did, we got there. And so that was good. You felt validated, all that good work. And then obviously, the next year was a winning season. I think the next year was a playoff season. And so it just kind of bloomed from there. That was important. But then the other thing is, like, in the locker room afterwards, you're sitting there, you take those pads off and you realize, this is the last time, I'm going to take those pads off. This is the last time, this is the last game. So, you felt great about the win, but then you kind of had that kind of a melancholy feel about, I'm not doing this anymore, and so you had that mixed emotion of after that game. But, it's kind of like an important kind of milestone on both halves, or both halves of the scale. So,
yeah. When we talked about it before, it's just it's a weird feeling that you probably don't get, like we talked about, very many times in life, if ever. Of the last game.
Mm-hmm.
So it is quite memorable. And so appreciate you bringing that up because I don't think about it much, but as soon as you talked about it, boom, it comes back, and like I was saying, the flood of emotions, positive, negative, whatever it is, right? And so that's interesting. So you play that last game, Ray. You take off those pads the last time. You take that tape off the last time. Then what?
Yeah, I need to find a job.
How about that? Yeah.
You know, and it was funny. When I went to William Mary, my dad said, how long was that scholarship for? I said, well, it's a 4-year scholarship. He said, well, how about you graduate in those 4 years then?
Yeah. 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 How about that? Yeah. Yeah.
So then you got to go find a job. Now, I mean, and again, it's the whole career planning process, the networking with alumni and everything, I think is so much better and more structured for our current players and our current students, or they're more savvy than I was. One of the two, you know what I mean? But
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Good fortune. I interviewed with Procter and Gamble twice. Once for a sales role, and then once for a customer service logistics type role. And I ended up getting my offer from P&G, and I always joke. I said, I think I was a bullpen hire. Kind of like someone turned them down. They said, well, who we got in the dugout?
Yeah.
Bring him in. You know what I mean? Give him a bell.
Hey.
But I got the opportunity to go work with Procter & Gamble, and they're an example in all the business classes that you take. So I was fortunate and proud, and I had a 28-year career at Procter & Gamble. So most roles were some kind of supply chain logistics type thing. We implemented third-party operation solutions, all of our customer distribution centers across the U.S. I led that work, so that was kind of like if I had to put a signature on something, I that's kind of notable. And then work on some supply chain redesign, et cetera. Before I got a chance to take early retirement, and at that time we were acquiring companies. We acquired Richardson Vicks. We acquired a snack nuts company. We acquired Iams Pet Food, and we acquired Gillette, the shaving and grooming company.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I worked on integrating all the Gillette brands and business into P&G's supply chain, and that was a fun project. And I haven't bought razor blades since 2006. And I know that's not important, right? But we would go visit all the Gillette sites, and you always get a care package, of products. Okay, and then like razor blades are always P&G's Christmas basket you get every year. So I was like, knock on wood, anyway, that's not really important. But
I thought you were gonna say because you just didn't grow any hair, but okay, yeah, that's
yeah. So anyway, I always said, it was in a cycle about every 4 years. We went through a downsizing effort, and it would really kind of give folks an opportunity to, if they're interested, to retire early. If this creates an opportunity for them to go and do something else, do it in a really good way, and hopefully it's a good fit. Nobody's kind of forced out. Of course, there's always the horror stories or somebody felt wrong, but they try to do it the right way. So I was actually in a meeting with a supplier, and we were just chatting. I'm trying to get them to fund the capital project because P&G and coming near the end of the fiscal year, all the budgets are clamped down now. But hey, you can help us out. It's at your site. Here's the benefits. I'm talking. I'm the hat in hand sourcing thing. You know what I mean?
Sure,
like
sure.
Poor people can't afford to put this this technology in, right? Okay.
Yeah.
And I said, just as an example, there, I said, I'm eligible for early retirement. They're looking to downsize, and I have an opportunity, to. I said, I'm not really interested in doing this. So we adjourned the meeting at Graham Watson, a guy I've worked with, over the last 10 years at DB Schenker. He says, are you really eligible to to take retirement?
Yeah.
And yeah, I said, I got to let him know today if I'm interested. And he said, well, you're committing? I said, no, I'm not committing. I'm just telling him I'm interested. I get more information. He says, well, tell me you're interested. We'll talk. So, I did. I went to work for DB Schenker, which is a logistics company. DB is Deutsche Bahn, the German railroad.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And they're a global logistics concern, ran several of our operations for us here in the States. And so I did another 5 years. I said I was going to do that for 5 to 10 years if I'm having fun. Well, I did it for 5.5. And, I had a little health scare. My financial guy said, you don't need to do this. And I said, you know what? I probably won't. I'm done. So, I had a great career at Procter & Gamble. For 17 of those 28 years, I worked externally. I worked with suppliers. I worked with, in the field, all of our sites. So I kind of got to be entrepreneurial. I got to be autonomous, but still had all the benefit of being a P&G employee and all the weight that P&G brings, with it. And that, so it's kind of the best of both worlds,
That's
for
awesome.
me.
Yeah.
And then, at P&G, we always say, I miss the people, right? Well, go work somewhere else. I was like, oh shit, I really do miss the people. It's the consistency, And so Suzanne, my wife, will say, I'm 3-4 months in, and I got sites on the West Coast. So it was 8 o'clock at night. I'm in my home office, on the phone, and I could tell. I said, we need better processes. And she says, what did you just say? I said, we need some better processes. She said, at P&G, you were like a cowboy. You didn't care about process. You just kind of did what you wanted.
Got it done.
I said, well, okay, it's come back around now, and so you learn, right? But but both were good experiences in the long run, I guess. So
yeah. Well, tell us about what you're doing now. How about that?
Yeah. So I'm retired. I live in Williamsburg. My wife also is a William Mary alum. She's from New Kent County, so it was really easy to kind of move back to Williamsburg. And I do engagement work, alumni engagement work with the football program. That kind of turns into some fundraising activity along with that. And then I run manage the football alumni tailgate. So every home game we have the tailgate, the tent set up right next to the Laycock Center. We have our own gate into the stadium. We're the only gate that allows in and out pass outs during the game. So come have a beer, have some food, go in the game, maybe come back at halftime, reload, and head back in. So I've been doing that this is my 3rd year doing it. Pre-COVID, Bobby Solders in his new role kind of took that over from Mac and Rag. So they had done it for like 30 years. And, okay, maybe want to kind of hand it off a little bit. Bobby did it that first year, and that was probably 2018, I guess it was. And, unfortunately, we lost Bobby in the spring of 19. And then COVID hit, and, this a bad streak, and football started back up, and Graham Miller had kind of taken over Hayfall, and kind of the tailgate was always kind of linked to Hayfall, if you will. And so it was kind of like, okay, how can we kind of get this revived and started? And so I live here, and I enjoy doing it. I mean, it's fun. I get to see more people at home games than most folks do, just because everybody comes through the tailgate. I got to meet a lot of younger fellows that in the 90s, the 2000s, as well as kind of the usual suspects, the 80s and the 70s. So it's been fun. I do that, and I'm an executive partner at the business school as well. So I've kind of gotten involved on campus in another way. As we were talking earlier, this was the coaches' orientation session. The semester kicks off on Monday coming up. And so, we go through the course that we support, plus other stuff. And then the second half of the fall, I'll work with our field consultancy team. There's a class of teams of students that work with actual companies, on a project. And so we have an 8-week consulting project we do with, real world experience. And these are usually second year kids that are, in that class. So that's been fun. And as we were talking, any opportunity you get back, I think, to come back to campus is good. And so, that's probably something, one of the standard pitch lines you hear from development, come back, and get it. But I think it's also probably true, as we were talking, I was at practice on Tuesday. I could, it's right there. I can just go over and watch. And so I'm watching live pass blocking drills again. I'm standing, on the line side of the line, if you will. And, and so I'm starting to get into this, like, driving down the line, put them on the like normal people don't do this, right? I mean, but that the old instinct kind of kicks back in, kind of a funny thing, if you will. But the more we get a chance to kind of engage, and our players are great players, our coaches, great coaching staff, you just kind of feel like, hey, there's a good thing going on. I feel like, our kids are good kids. We're trying to do it right, and it's something that you feel good about. So I'm happy to support with tailgate and that work. It's as much fun as it is effort. So that's good.
Yeah. Well, let me say, hey, Ray, you do an excellent job with the tailgate. Every time I come down to a game, not only is it great food and camaraderie, but it's well run, et cetera. So you do an excellent job.
Fine, Dante.
What's that?
Let me highlight. We try to highlight alumni businesses as part of the tailgate. And so
yes.
David Michaelow, who owns the Vale Brewing in Richmond, Dave has been very generous, and he supplies us with beer for the tailgates. We also have Chris Nykirk from Smartmouth, class of '88. He owns a brewery down in Norfolk. We have Smartmouth beer at the tailgates. Friends of mine own a winery, Jolene Family Winery. They're alumni through marriage, so I think that counts. So
does now.
Yeah, and we usually get a local barbecue joint. We haven't found anybody, Bulls in Texas, and I'm sure he'd love to cater the food, but it's a long run, on Saturdays to get the food here from Texas.
Slightly, right? Yeah.
We got a local barbecue supplier, but we try to feature the alumni businesses and just kind of, again, build that connection. And if folks are in Richmond, go see David in the Vale, or if you're down in Norfolk, patronize that business. They're helping us out. So
absolutely, and that's what all of this is all about, right? And just those relationships, and leveraging it. So this has been awesome, Ray. I just once again I appreciate it. One, all you do for the tribe, and then two, for this opportunity here to sit down with you. I think folks are really going to enjoy this one. And so just thank you again, and looking forward to seeing you in the fall.
Very good. All right. We'll be here. Come by and see us.
Okay. Right.